1990, after a year on the North American market, the Sega Genesis was finally gaining ground. Much of that can be attributed to arcade ports, Electronic Arts sports titles, and especially licenses from major companies like Disney, namely Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. It became one of the hottest video games of the 1990 holiday season.
Is this new this year? This is brand new. It just started shipping within the last couple of weeks. And I want to show you just some of the wonderful animation here of Mickey. He's just walking along, and then the beautiful, brilliantly colored backgrounds as he walks in and the game begins.
More and more Illusion games would soon follow, coming out for the Genesis and Game Gear worldwide, and even the Master System in several regions. There were also games related to the Illusion series, two of which came out in time for the 1991 holiday season. One game was Fantasia, and wow did it disappoint. Not just gamers and critics, but Walt Disney's nephew Roy E. Disney as well. Sales soon came to a halt for Fantasia, and Sega destroyed their 5,000 remaining warehouse copies of the game. But the other game was a stark contrast. That game was QuackShot, starring Donald Duck, the subject of this video. QuackShot was released in December of 1991 worldwide. Europe's exact date remains a mystery, but North America got a release on December 19th, and Japan received it the very next day. The story begins with Donald Duck happening upon an old book in the study of his uncle, Scrooge McDuck, King Garuzia's great duck treasure. According to the book, the king of the Duck Kingdom hid his prized treasure in a secret location before he passed away. Donald finds a map to the treasure in the book and sets off with his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie to find it in hopes of impressing his girlfriend Daisy. But there's one roadblock: Pete and his gang of spies. It's up to you to help Donald beat Pete to the treasure. When you're first shown the map, you'll be given three options: Duckburg, Mexico, and Transylvania. You can pick any one you wish, but you'll only get far if you start in Duckburg. As you progress through the game, shoot the goons of Pete's Ducky Gang with your plungers to hold them off for a few seconds. Each successful hit scores you 1,000 points. Some goons will even spawn bonus items such as ice cream and turkeys to boost Donald's health meter, 1,000-point money bags, corn for the popcorn shooter, bubbles for the bubblegum shooter, and extra lives. You'll also find red hot chili peppers. Not the band, folks. Actual peppers. Once you find 5, you'll maximize Donald's temper, and he'll become temporarily invincible. This is called a quack attack. In Duckburg, not only are you up against Pete's spies, but caterpillar enemies as well. Once you reach the end, an explorer will block your way and remind you that you can't climb high walls without the right tools. Once Donald places the flag, call the airplane for Donald's nephews to pick him up and take him to Mexico. There, you'll be faced with not only the usual Pete spies, but cacti and buzzards with beehives. You'll also run into scorpions who will toss blocks up. It might be beneficial if there's hard-to-reach items nearby. And beware of moving platforms and dynamite as you progress through the stage. When you make it to the third area, you'll find a sweet señorita outside an Aztec pyramid telling you to find the hero key in Duckburg. Call for the plane to take you back, and there, you talk to the explorer, who gives you the key. Then it's back to the Aztec pyramid, where you'll run into the Aztec warriors and moving flames on your way to meet up with Goofy. Once you meet up with him, he'll tell you that Gyro Gearloose is looking for you in Duckburg, and will also give you a note and a red plunger, which will allow you to scale tall walls. When you return to Duckburg, make your way across buildings to a series of electricity wires with perfectly timed jumps until you finally reach Gyro's location. There, he'll give you the bubblegum shooter, which is necessary for when you travel to Transylvania. When you arrive there, make your way to Dracula's castle. There, Avoid the skeletons and ghosts until you've reached the stage boss, Dracula. Hit him 5 times with his cape open and you'll defeat him. When that's done, he'll give you the actual map, which reveals 4 more locations. Next stop, the Maharaja's Palace. Meet up with the Maharaja himself and he'll issue a challenge. Defeat the tiger in his garden and he'll reward you with the Sphinx Tear. On your way to face the tiger, you'll be met with a maze of doors. First enter door number 1, then go through door number 5. Head to door number 2 on your left, but jump over this one rather than go through it. Use the plunger to climb up the wall, then slide your way to the real door number 2. This will lead you to a pathway to door number 6, which will lead you to the tiger, who bears a striking resemblance to Shere Khan from the Jungle Book. But beware of his pouncing and his flamethrowers. He's basically Sega and Disney's own Arcanine before Pokemon even existed. Except Arcanine's a dog-like Pokemon. When he's standing on the ground, the tiger is invincible, but he's at his weakest when he's in mid-air, even by just a fraction of an inch. He has to be hit 6 times, be they by the plunger or the bubblegum shooter, or a combination of both. Once you do that, the Maharaja will give you the Sphinx Tear as part of the deal, and you'll need it to unlock the pyramid in Egypt, which is your next stop. Once you enter the pyramid, you'll be faced with tricky obstacles, especially the pop-up spears and falling platforms over insta-death lava pits. But once you reach the final area, you'll have to solve the riddle of the Sphinx before the ceiling caves in on you. This is where Goofy's note comes in. 1 sun, 2 moon, 3 star. That means jump on the sun block first, then the moon, and then the star. At that point, the ceiling will rise again. Head for the right, and you'll find the Scepter of Ra. Then make your way out in a minecart and call the plane to take you to the South Pole. There, proceed past Pete's goons, the buzzards, and the penguins. And once you reach the end, you'll come across an ice block containing the Viking key. To melt the ice, position yourself over it, select the Scepter of Ra, and use it. The ice will melt, and you've got your Viking key. Then call for the plane to take you to the Viking ship, a pirate ship occupied by Pete's goons and a gang of Vikings. One Viking, the captain, warns you of ghosts having taken over his ship. He offers a Viking diary to help find the treasure. Then, use the Viking key to unlock the door to the ship's hold, which is haunted by the aforementioned ghosts and Pete's gang, who somehow broke in. Once you get past these obstacles, it's time to take on the Viking ghost. Aim for his head, where he's at his weakest. But remember, it has to be done with perfect timing. When the ghost disassembles after he takes a hit, his pieces will leap from one side of the screen to the other, so duck, no pun intended, to avoid taking a hit. Hit the ghost 7 times and he'll disappear. When you meet up with the Viking captain again, he reveals he doesn't really have the diary. Instead, he tells you it's hidden somewhere in the South Pole. He'll also give you the green plunger, which will allow you to fire upon flying objects like buzzards and hold on to them for a period of time. Back to the South Pole. Hit a buzzard with a green plunger and hold on to it. As you do so, you can control the buzzard's path to avoid other buzzards. Once you reach the platform at the end, traverse through the icy path while avoiding the killer whales and penguins. Beware of rising platforms, and whatever you do, do not fall into the icy water. The next area requires a lot of bubblegum ammunition. It's needed to melt the blue ice blocks. Evade the strong Pete henchmen and the walruses as you do so. You'll soon find the Viking diary. Once you have it, head back, but you'll soon find that Donald's nephews have been kidnapped by Pete in exchange for the map and the diary. Donald gives them up, and Pete releases Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who fly Donald to Pete's hideout to retrieve the stolen items. The first stage of the hideout is like a jungle, with tons of trial and error involved. Part 2 is a minecart sequence. Time your jump right when you reach the end of the track, so you can hop onto the next cart. Do the same for the cart that comes after, and then again when you reach the end of the stage. Part 3 is another round of trial and error. You have small but extending platforms that require precise timing to hop from one to the next, then to the larger platforms. Part 4 is where you're bombarded with buzzards, boxing turtles, and of course, Pete's gang. Once you've reached the end, you'll take on Big Bad Pete himself in his massive piston machine. As Pete rises up, it's your opportunity to strike him in the head with a plunger. But watch out, as his piston is deadly. There's also henchmen backing him up. Hit Pete in the head 10 times and he'll surrender the map and diary. Look at the diary and you'll find it has to be dipped in water to reveal the treasure's location. Almost similar to Star Tropics where you had to dip your letter in water. Donald does so, and he finds that the treasure is hidden in the Great Duck Treasure Island, the final course. Area 1 has you traversing a jungle. Like Area 1 of Pete's hideout, there's quite a bit of trial and error here. Timing is critical, especially at the very end, where you're gonna need those plungers. Those grassy green platforms will fizzle out like a lit fuse, so be quick with those plungers. Once you've reached the top, it's on to Area 2, the temple. Definitely the easiest area of the course. Just avoid pop-up spheres, floating flames, and spikes. Then time your aim with the plungers just right on the moving platforms, and you'll be out of the temple in no time. Finally, jump on invisible platforms and make your way to the final area where you take on the final boss of QuackShot, the Guardian. He'll toss his sword at you, so you have to dodge that. Once his sword reaches the other side, rocks will start tumbling down on you, but this is your chance to hit the Guardian on the head. After the rocks clear, while you stand on the first stair on either side, hit that same button repeatedly to get as many hits on the Guardian as you can until he gets his sword back. Once he's taken 12 hits, he's defeated, and he deems you worthy of the king's treasure, which turns out to be a statue of a duck princess. Donald is distraught, and when he returns home, he presents it to a dissatisfied Daisy. Suddenly, Donald's nephews slip and fall, causing the statue to break, revealing a jeweled necklace within. Daisy's anger turns to joy, and Donald happily takes her on a flight over the courses he'd been through. Phew! That took quite some time to go through. At any rate, after QuackShot was released, it received great reviews. GamePro gave the game a perfect score, stating, "Even if you don't find Garuzia's treasure, you'll have a Genesis treasure of your very own." Now, QuackShot may not be a short game, but a pro gamer can get this game completed in under 2 hours. Plus you have unlimited continues. The only thing you don't get out of it is a save system, but very few Genesis games of the early 90s had that. And most of those that did were role-playing games. Oh, and there's no password system either. But then again, this is a simple game despite a little challenge. The music is also pretty whimsical. It was composed by Shigenori Kamiya, the same composer who worked on Castle of Illusion, so it only makes sense. The controls are also spot on, and you can change the settings for the trigger buttons in the options menu, depending on your preferences. Personally, I consider QuackShot to be one of my top 10 favorite Genesis games of all time. It's whimsical, has well-balanced difficulty, and of course, it stars one of my favorite cartoon characters of all time. If you want to play this game for yourself, regardless of the region, the original cartridge is pretty inexpensive. QuackShot would later see a release alongside Castle of Illusion on the Sega Saturn as part of the Sega Ages line, Sega Ages, I Love Mickey Mouse. Like most Sega Ages games for the Saturn, this one never left Japan. If you want this, expect to pay around $140. But however you play it, QuackShot will always give you a quacking good time. Thanks again for watching Gaming Delight. Until next time, happy gaming!